Welcome. Today, we're going to unravel the EU's brand new Artificial Intelligence Act. Now, this is a really big deal because this law is set to completely change the rules of the game for how companies all across Europe create and, use AI technology. So let's get right into what you need to know. So let me just ask you this one simple question. Does your business actually create AI, or do you just use it in your day-to-day? Because here's the thing. It really doesn't matter what your answer is. This new law is going to have a direct impact on your operations either way. Okay, so let's dive in and figure out exactly what's what. So here's our plan of attack. First, we're going to get a good look at this new rulebook, what it's all about. Then we'll figure out who's who in this whole AI ecosystem. After that, we'll unpack the core logic of the law, get a handle on some key terms, and we'll finish up with a really practical checklist to get you started on compliance. All right, let's start at the very beginning. What exactly is this famous EU AI Act? And maybe more importantly, what is it actually trying to achieve? Well, in a nutshell, it's trying to do two big things at once. On one hand, the EU really wants to encourage innovation. They want to see the adoption of trustworthy, human-centric AI that actually helps us. But on the other hand, it's also designed to be a shield, making sure we all have a high level of protection for our health, our safety, and our fundamental rights. And you really got to pay attention here, because the way the law defines an AI system is super, super broad. We are not just talking about some futuristic, sophisticated robots. No way. Any machine-based system that can take in some data, work on its own, and then spit out things like predictions, content, or decisions that affect the world around us, well, that can be considered an AI system. This means a ton of the apps and tools we use every single day now fall under this law. Okay, so we've got a handle on what an AI system is in the eyes of the law. Now let's figure out who's who in this whole new ecosystem. And this is absolutely crucial because each of these roles comes with a completely different set of responsibilities. First up, and you could argue the most important, is the provider. The easiest way to think about them is as the architect, the original creator of the AI system. So if your company builds an AI model and launches it on the market under your own brand name, then yep, you are the provider. And that's where the main responsibility for compliance really begins. Next up, we've got the deployer, or, to put it more simply, the user. And this is the category where most businesses are going to find themselves. If you use an AI system as part of your professional work, doesn't matter if you're a small business or a big public authority, you are a deployer. And that means you have a duty to use that system correctly and make sure there's always proper human oversight. Then we have the importer, and their role is kind of like a guardian. If your company is based inside the EU and you bring in an AI system that was developed somewhere else, say outside the Union, you suddenly become responsible for it. It is your job to make sure that the original developer, the one outside the EU, has followed all of the European rules. You're basically the gatekeeper. And finally, we get to the distributor. Just think of the supply chain. The distributor is any other link in that chain. Their job is to be a final checkpoint, verifying basic stuff, like making sure the product has the right CE marking and that it comes with all the required paperwork before it actually hits the market. All right, so we've met the players. Now let's get into the absolute core logic of this entire law, which is this. Not all AI is created equal, and it is definitely not treated that way by these new rules. The key to this whole thing really boils down to one simple idea. The higher the potential risk an AI system poses to people, to our health, our safety, our rights, the stricter the rules get. It's that simple. It's like a ladder of responsibility, and everything flows from this risk-based approach. And this breakdown is just perfect. At the very top, you have unacceptable risk AI. These are just flat out banned. Think things like government social scoring systems or real-time facial recognition in public places. Then you step down to high-risk AI, which is allowed, but it's very strictly regulated. We'll talk more about that in a sec. And at the bottom, you have limited-risk AI, like a customer service chatbot. For those, the main rule is just about transparency, so you know you're talking to a machine. So what kind of stuff counts as high risk? Well, it's the AI that can have a really serious impact on our lives. We're talking about systems used in recruitment that help decide who gets a job, or systems that help with medical diagnoses, or ones that decide if you get a loan. It also covers AI used to manage critical infrastructure and systems used in law enforcement and our justice system. For these, the rules are, as you'd expect, incredibly strict. And here's exactly what that looks like in the real world. On one side, you've got an AI sorting through job candidates, a decision that affects someone's entire livelihood. On the other, a system helping with a medical scan where the outcome can literally be life or death. These are incredibly powerful tools, and because the stakes for real people are just so high, they demand the absolute highest level of scrutiny. Okay, let's zoom in on a couple of technical but really, really crucial terms the law focuses on. Getting these right is key to understanding the whole thing. The first one is the huge difference between biometric identification and biometric verification. So identification is a one-to-many comparison. It takes someone's face, for example, and scans it against a whole database to answer the question, who is this person? Verification, on the other hand, is way simpler. It's a one-to-one match. It just answers the question, are you who you say you are? Like when you unlock your phone with your face. And this image right here is exactly why that difference matters so much. That one-to-many identification you see happening, scanning a whole crowd, that's what poses a massive risk to our privacy. And a lot of the time, people don't even know it's happening. And that is precisely why it is so strictly regulated. Another really interesting and, to be honest, pretty controversial concept is emotion recognition. This is any AI system that tries to figure out how you're feeling, joy, anger, surprise, by analyzing your biometric data. Now, as you can imagine, the potential for this to be misused is huge, so its use is heavily, heavily restricted, especially in sensitive places like at work or in a school. All right, enough of this theory. Let's get practical and move on to what this all actually means for you and your business. Here is a quick guide to help you get started on your compliance journey. So here are 4 really simple, actionable steps. First, identify your role. Are you a provider, a deployer, or one of the others? Second, classify the AI you're using or creating. What's its risk level? Third, figure out your specific obligations based on that role and risk level. And finally, fourth, implement the right governance, the right people and processes to make sure you stay compliant. It's all about mapping your specific situation to these steps. And that really brings us to the final crucial question. Look, this isn't just another boring piece of regulation. This marks the beginning of a whole new era of AI accountability. And the only real question left is, are you and your business ready for it?